Pause for a second, because what you're about to hear could completely transform how you view your life, your heart, and the person who is quietly drawing closer to you. Have you ever sensed that something is changing even though nothing on the surface looks different? Have you noticed an unexplainable feeling of peace, repeated thoughts about love, or a sense that a new season is quietly forming behind the scenes? These are not the moments most people notice, but maybe they deserve attention. What if right now someone has made a life-altering decision about you without sending a text, placing a call, or saying a single word? What if the most significant choice of their life has already been made in total silence while you continue asking whether anyone truly recognizes your value? The biggest turning points rarely announce themselves ahead of time. They arrive softly, reshaping lives before anyone even notices what has started. Today isn't about daydreaming or wishful thinking. It's about the hidden shifts that happen inside the human heart before two paths finally cross. Stay to the end, because the sign you've been hoping for may not show up the way you imagined, and the silent decision someone has already made could become the start of everything you've been longing for. Your heart deserves to hear what happens next. Picture for a moment that the most important decision about your future isn't being declared with loud words, big gestures, or clear signals. Instead, it's happening quietly, outside your awareness, in the private rooms of someone else's heart. While you go on with your everyday life focused on your obligations, your dreams, and even your uncertainties, someone else may be arriving at an inner conclusion that neither of you fully grasps yet. This is the curious nature of deep human connection. The most profound decisions are rarely made in a single moment. They form slowly, molded by countless quiet reflections, emotional breakthroughs, and flashes of sudden clarity. There comes a moment in every meaningful emotional journey when a person stops fleeing from what they genuinely feel. They may have spent months doubting themselves, telling themselves that keeping their distance was safer than being vulnerable. They may have buried their feelings under work, distractions, or the belief that time would wipe away what their heart kept whispering. Yet the subconscious has a remarkable way of holding on to what truly matters. Feelings that are pushed aside don't vanish. They simply linger beneath the surface until they can no longer be denied. A hidden decision often takes root long before a person becomes consciously aware of it. It builds through recurring memories that won't fade, through unexpected moments when your presence drifts into their thoughts uninvited, and through quiet awareness that no one else has sparked the same emotional connection. They may not immediately understand why certain conversations stay vivid in their mind, or why everyday places suddenly bring to mind someone they thought they'd moved past. These experiences aren't random. They're signs of an inner world working to bring buried truths into conscious awareness. People often assume they make choices through logic alone, but the heart follows a much older language. Before the conscious mind declares that it's chosen this person, the deeper self has already been leaning that way. It notices traits that can't be measured, senses emotional safety before words can describe it, and feels familiarity where reason only sees chance. What looks sudden from the outside is often the final stage of a process that has been quietly unfolding for a long while. This hidden decision isn't only about choosing another person, it's also about choosing courage over fear. Every real connection demands something difficult of us. It asks us to risk letdown, to drop old defenses, and to trust that the future doesn't have to mirror the pain of the past. Many resist this call because guarding the heart feels simpler than opening it. Yet there comes a point when staying emotionally closed off becomes more painful than the risk of loving. That moment shifts everything, even if no one else notices. The person tied to your path may be going through exactly this kind of change. Without ever saying your name out loud, they may be realizing that avoiding their emotions has brought them neither peace nor freedom. The walls they built for safety have turned into obstacles blocking the life they secretly crave. Slowly, almost without notice, those walls start to weaken. What once felt out of reach begins to feel essential. What once sparked fear starts to spark hope. This hidden decision isn't born from impulse, but from the gradual recognition that real connection is worth more than emotional certainty, and that some people come into our lives not to test our worth, but to awaken parts of us that have been patiently waiting to be seen. One of the biggest misconceptions about love is the belief that it starts the moment two people meet. In truth, the deepest bonds often begin long before a single conversation happens. They start within a person's private inner world, where old beliefs are challenged, emotional wounds are recognized, and the longing for something real slowly outweighs the fear of getting hurt again. What looks like a chance encounter from the outside is often the outcome of a long stretch of invisible groundwork laid within both lives. Every meaningful relationship calls a person to become someone they weren't the day before. It demands emotional growth, self-awareness, and a willingness to release patterns that once felt essential for survival. Many people carry unseen burdens from past experiences. They may have learned to conceal their feelings, brace for rejection, or assume love always brings pain. These beliefs become woven into their inner world, quietly shaping every choice they make without them even noticing. Before a lasting bond can genuinely flourish, these hidden patterns often start to shift. This change rarely happens in an instant. It unfolds through everyday moments that seem minor at first. A letdown that pushes someone to reconsider their priorities, a stretch of loneliness that reveals the worth of true companionship, a quiet recognition that seeking others' approval has never brought real peace. These experiences gradually reshape the heart, making room for a different kind of relationship, one built not on fear or dependency, but on mutual respect, honesty, and emotional security. Personal growth also alters how people see others. Someone who once overlooked kindness may suddenly value it. Someone once drawn only to excitement may start seeking peace instead. As the inner world shifts, qualities that once seemed unremarkable become deeply significant. Patience becomes more appealing than unpredictability. Emotional steadiness becomes more prized than fleeting passion. The heart starts to seek what genuinely nourishes it, rather than what merely entertains it. This is why timing carries so much weight. Two people can meet at the wrong stage of life and miss what could have been. But once inner change has taken place, the same meeting carries an entirely different meaning. The connection feels more natural because both people have grown capable of receiving what life offers. They're no longer looking for someone to complete them. Instead, they're ready to share the fullness of who they've become. Growth also teaches the hard lesson of letting go. Many spend years clinging to outdated versions of themselves, old disappointments, or imagined futures that were never meant to be. Releasing these attachments brings emotional freedom. It lets the past remain a teacher instead of becoming a prison. As this freedom grows, the heart becomes lighter, more open, and better able to recognize real connection when it finally shows up. Perhaps the most striking part of inner transformation is that it often unfolds without any awareness of what it's preparing us for. A person believes they're simply learning to heal, growing more patient, or discovering their own worth. Yet every lesson quietly rebuilds the foundation on which future relationships will rest. Each act of forgiveness loosens the grip of old pain. Every moment of self-respect strengthens the ability to choose healthier bonds. Every challenge overcome builds the resilience needed to love without constant fear of loss. By the time two prepared hearts finally meet, the encounter isn't merely the start of a friendship. It's the visible expression of countless invisible shifts that have already happened deep within the spirit, making the connection feel less like coincidence and more like the natural unfolding of lives that have quietly grown ready for one another. Every person carries an unseen presence that reaches far beyond words, looks, or outward actions. It shows up in the attitudes they nurture, the emotions they repeatedly feel, and the beliefs they hold about themselves and the world. This quiet presence shapes every interaction, often without conscious thought. While people may focus on what they say or how they present themselves, the deeper parts of their character convey something far more powerful. A settled heart naturally creates a different atmosphere than an anxious one. Someone who has learned self-respect carries themselves differently than someone who constantly seeks approval. These subtle traits shape the connections that come into their life. Many people believe they attract relationships through effort alone. They think the right words, the ideal appearance, or carefully planned moves are enough to build lasting love. Yet meaningful connection rarely hinges on performance. It grows from authenticity. When someone feels at ease with who they are, they stop trying to be everything for everyone. Instead, they let their true personality show without constant fear of rejection. This quiet self-assurance becomes deeply appealing because it invites honesty rather than pretense. Healing plays a major role in this shift. Emotional wounds often leave behind hidden expectations. Someone who has been betrayed may unconsciously expect every future relationship to end the same way. Someone who has faced ongoing criticism may believe they must earn love through endless sacrifice. These hidden beliefs shape countless decisions, influencing how they communicate, trust, and respond to others. As healing progresses, these old patterns gradually lose their hold. The heart becomes less focused on self-protection and more open to genuine connection. This openness makes room for healthier relationships. Instead of being pulled toward emotional chaos or uncertainty, a person starts valuing consistency, kindness, and mutual understanding, no longer mistaking unpredictability for excitement or emotional distance for mystery. Their priorities shift because their inner world has shifted. They begin noticing qualities that once went unnoticed, valuing sincerity over appearance and emotional steadiness over fleeting intensity. Self-respect also reshapes how people relate to others. When someone recognizes their own worth, they no longer feel driven to chase those who keep withdrawing their affection. They grow comfortable setting boundaries, voicing their needs honestly, and walking away from situations that repeatedly disturb their peace. This isn't pride, it's emotional maturity. It reflects the understanding that real love can't thrive where respect is missing. As these inner shifts continue, relationships start unfolding differently. Conversations feel more natural because there's less pressure to impress. Trust builds more easily because fear no longer controls every interaction. Rather than desperately searching for reassurance, the person becomes able to offer reassurance to others through their own steadiness and emotional balance. This creates an environment where deeper connection can naturally grow. It's remarkable how often people underestimate the quiet impact of their own growth. They assume nothing meaningful is happening because outward circumstances seem unchanged. Yet every act of forgiveness softens old defenses. Every hard lesson accepted with humility builds emotional resilience. Every moment spent choosing honesty over fear reshapes character from within. These invisible shifts gradually become visible through the peace a person carries, the wisdom reflected in their choices, and the quiet confidence that no longer relies on outside approval. Without forcing outcomes or chasing constant validation, they begin drawing toward themselves people who value sincerity, emotional depth, and mutual respect. What once seemed impossible starts to unfold with surprising ease, not because fate suddenly changed course, but because the person themselves became more fully aligned with a kind of relationship built on trust, understanding, shared values, and the quiet recognition that lasting love grows strongest where two authentic hearts are free to meet without masks. Life often speaks softly long before it reveals its bigger changes. Many of the most meaningful moments come not from dramatic events but from subtle experiences that gently draw our attention. These moments can seem ordinary on their own, yet together they create a sense that something important is slowly forming beneath the surface. People naturally search for meaning, and there are seasons when certain experiences seem to repeat with unusual frequency. A familiar song plays at unexpected times. A forgotten memory resurfaces with striking clarity. Or a conversation seems to answer a question that was never spoken aloud. While these moments shouldn't be treated as guaranteed signs of a specific future, they often invite deeper self-reflection and a fuller awareness of what's changing within us. One of the earliest hidden signs is an unexpected shift in your emotional world. You may notice old resentments losing their grip. Situations that once filled you with worry no longer hit with the same force. Instead of constantly looking back, your attention gradually turns toward possibilities that once felt out of reach. This emotional lightness isn't about forgetting the past. It's about no longer letting the past shape every expectation for the future. The heart becomes less focused on surviving and more interested in truly living. Another subtle sign shows up through recurring thoughts carrying an unusual sense of calm rather than fear. Instead of imagining worst-case outcomes, you begin picturing relationships built on trust, honesty, and mutual respect. Your mind becomes less focused on proving your worth and more interested in sharing your authentic self. This shift reflects a deeper transformation. It suggests your inner world is growing more open to healthier forms of connection. Dreams can also carry more emotional weight during periods of personal growth, not because they predict exact events, but because they often mirror emotions, hopes, and unresolved questions hidden during waking life. A dream about reunion, unfamiliar places, open doors, or peaceful conversations may signal an inner readiness for change rather than a literal glimpse of the future. The subconscious often speaks through images and symbols, inviting reflection rather than certainty. Paying attention to these experiences can deepen your understanding of your own emotional landscape. Coincidences sometimes feel more noticeable during major periods of transition. You might unexpectedly reconnect with someone from your past, hear repeated themes across conversations with different people, or come across ideas that answer questions you've quietly carried inside. These moments can feel deeply personal because they arrive as your perspective is already shifting. Rather than proving that fate controls every detail, they remind us that heightened awareness often lets us notice patterns we'd previously missed. As we become more attentive to our lives, meaningful connections naturally stand out. There's also a quiet shift in how you experience being alone. Instead of seeing time alone as something to avoid, you start appreciating it as a chance to understand yourself more deeply. Silence no longer feels empty. It becomes a space where clarity forms. You grow more at ease with your own thoughts, less reliant on constant distraction, and more willing to listen to your true feelings. This inner calm builds the emotional stability healthy relationships require. Perhaps the most remarkable sign is the gradual fading of desperation. You stop feeling that happiness depends entirely on someone else's arrival. Instead, you begin building a meaningful life through your own values, purpose, friendships, and personal growth. Ironically, it's often at this stage that authentic relationships become possible, because they're no longer driven by fear, loneliness, or the need to fill an emotional gap. The heart becomes ready, not because it has found every answer, but because it has learned to stay open without giving up its peace, welcoming new possibilities with quiet confidence, emotional maturity, and a willingness to let genuine connection unfold naturally, in its own time. Fear has a quiet way of shaping our lives without asking permission. It rarely announces itself with obvious words or dramatic actions. More often, it hides beneath hesitation, overthinking, emotional distance, or the constant expectation that something good will eventually fall apart. Many people believe they're protecting themselves when they keep their hearts guarded. But in truth, they're often shielding themselves from possibilities that never even had a chance to exist. Memories of disappointment, betrayal, or rejection can grow so powerful that they start shaping every new relationship before it's had the chance to reveal its true nature. Preparing your heart starts with recognizing these hidden fears. Every painful experience leaves behind a lesson, but sometimes it also leaves behind unnecessary conclusions. A broken relationship may convince someone that love can't be trusted. A betrayal may plant the belief that vulnerability always ends in suffering. Repeated disappointments may cause someone to expect rejection even when no evidence supports it. These beliefs quietly become part of everyday thinking, shaping decisions, reactions, and expectations. Without realizing it, the heart starts responding to old memories rather than present reality. Trust doesn't mean pretending pain never happened. It means refusing to let past experiences become permanent predictions about the future. Wisdom grows from experience, but fear often tries to disguise itself as wisdom. It whispers that avoiding emotional risk is the safest path. Yet a life fully shielded from disappointment is also cut off from genuine connection, growth, and the joy that comes from letting another person truly know you. Replacing fear with trust isn't a single decision, but a gradual process. It starts with being honest with yourself about the walls you've built. Some hide behind constant independence, convincing themselves they need no one. Others seek endless reassurance because they fear abandonment. Some avoid expressing their emotions altogether, believing silence is safer than honesty. These patterns may bring temporary comfort, but they also block authentic intimacy from developing. Recognizing them is the first step toward freedom. Trust also requires accepting uncertainty. No relationship comes with absolute guarantees, and no future can be fully controlled. Trying to eliminate every possible risk often creates more anxiety instead of more peace. The heart grows stronger not by demanding certainty, but by building the confidence to face whatever life brings with resilience and self-respect. This quiet confidence lets love grow without constant suspicion or emotional exhaustion. As fear gradually loosens its grip, something remarkable begins to happen. You become more present in your relationships instead of constantly bracing for loss. Conversations grow more honest because you no longer feel the need to hide behind emotional walls. Kindness becomes easier to accept. Forgiveness becomes less difficult to give. And hope quietly returns without demanding perfection. The heart learns that openness isn't weakness but courage, and that real love flourishes where trust is chosen again and again, letting two people meet with honesty, mutual respect, and a willingness to embrace both the beauty and uncertainty of a shared journey. Many people expect life-changing relationships to arrive with overwhelming intensity, dramatic emotion, or instant certainty. Stories often suggest that true love must feel like a storm turning life upside down. Yet some of the deepest human connections begin in a surprisingly quiet way. Instead of creating confusion, they bring calm. Instead of leaving you emotionally drained, they leave you feeling understood. This distinction matters because genuine connection often feels less like discovering something entirely new and more like recognizing something that's quietly felt familiar all along. There's a unique comfort that appears when two people are emotionally in sync. Conversations don't feel like performances where every word must be carefully weighed. Silence no longer feels awkward because neither person feels pressure to constantly impress the other. You start noticing that being yourself takes less effort than pretending to be someone you're not. This ease isn't created by perfection. It comes from acceptance, where both people feel free to share their thoughts, dreams, and even their flaws without constant fear of judgment. A familiar connection doesn't mean two people share identical personalities or never disagree. Differences will always exist, since every person brings unique experiences, perspectives, and strengths. What creates familiarity is something much deeper. It's the feeling that your values, intentions, and emotional rhythms naturally complement each other. Even when challenges come up, there's a willingness to understand before reacting and to communicate before pulling away. This builds a foundation where disagreements become opportunities for growth rather than reasons to separate. Many mistake emotional turbulence for passion because uncertainty can feel thrilling. They grow used to relationships full of mixed signals, unpredictable behavior, and constant guessing. Over time, this emotional instability starts to feel normal. When a healthy connection finally shows up, its peaceful nature may initially feel unfamiliar simply because chaos has become the norm. Learning to value consistency over confusion is one of the clearest signs of emotional maturity. This quiet recognition also builds trust. You stop questioning every message, overanalyzing every pause, or hunting for hidden meaning behind ordinary actions. Confidence grows naturally because actions consistently reflect sincere intentions. Instead of wondering where you stand, you gradually feel the security that comes from honesty, reliability, and mutual respect. Emotional energy is no longer spent trying to resolve endless uncertainty, but is instead invested in sharing experiences and building deeper understanding. As this connection grows, you begin noticing that it supports your personal growth rather than pulling you away from it. You feel encouraged to pursue your goals, stay true to your values, and become the best version of yourself. There's no constant pressure to earn affection or prove your worth because genuine appreciation already exists. The relationship becomes a place of encouragement rather than competition, understanding rather than control, and peace rather than emotional confusion. It feels familiar not because every moment is predictable, but because your heart recognizes the rare comfort of being accepted without disguise, respected without conditions, and valued for who you truly are, allowing love to unfold with quiet confidence, patience, and lasting emotional depth. As we reach the end of this journey, remember that the most meaningful changes in life often begin long before they become visible. A heart opens in silence. A difficult decision is made in private. Personal transformation happens without applause. And genuine connection grows from the courage to become your authentic self. If someone truly belongs in your life, the path toward that connection isn't built on chasing, fear, or endless uncertainty. It's built on growth, patience, emotional honesty, and the quiet confidence that what's meant to enrich your life will arrive when both hearts are ready to receive it. Perhaps the greatest preparation isn't waiting for someone else to change, but continuing to become the person you're proud to be. Every lesson you learn, every wound you heal, every act of self-respect, and every moment you choose hope over fear strengthens the foundation for the relationships that truly matter. No matter where you are on your journey today, let your heart stay open, your spirit stay steady, and your faith in meaningful connection remain alive.